Have you ever wondered what happens when cells in our body die prematurely? Well, the answer lies in a process called necrosis, a type of cell death that occurs when cells are exposed to adverse conditions, such as injury, infection, or toxins. Unlike apoptosis, a more controlled and programmed form of cell death, necrosis is more like an unplanned, chaotic exit that often triggers inflammation. Imagine a bustling city where each building represents a cell. In a well-functioning city, old buildings are carefully demolished and replaced in an orderly fashion. This is what happens during apoptosis. But imagine if a sudden disaster, like an earthquake or a flood, were to hit the city, causing buildings to collapse haphazardly. This is akin to necrosis. There are different types of necrosis, each with its unique characteristics. First, we have coagulative necrosis. Picture a ghost town, where the buildings are empty but the structure is still intact. This is what happens in coagulative necrosis, where the architecture of the cell remains preserved for a time after cell death. This type of necrosis is often seen in organs like the heart, kidney, and liver. Next, we have liquefactive necrosis. Imagine an ice sculpture melting away into a puddle. In this type of necrosis, the dead cells are digested, leaving behind a liquid, viscous mass. This is often seen in infections and is characteristic of certain types of brain injury. Then there's caseous necrosis. Picture a block of soft, white, cheesy material. This is what the affected tissue resembles in caseous necrosis, which is typically found in tuberculosis and other granulomatous infections. Lastly, we have gangrenous necrosis. This term is often used to describe necrosis in a large area of tissue, especially in limbs. It's like a forest fire that engulfs a large area, typically associated with a lack of blood supply, also known as ischemia. So, what causes necrosis? Various factors can trigger this process, including physical trauma, infections, toxins, and inadequate blood supply. It's generally considered a detrimental process, as it can lead to inflammation and damage to surrounding tissues. In contrast, apoptosis is a more controlled and programmed form of cell death that is essential for the normal development and maintenance of the body's tissues. It's like the planned demolition and replacement of old buildings in our city analogy. Understanding necrosis is vital, as it plays a significant role in many diseases and conditions. By studying this process, scientists and medical professionals can develop better treatments and interventions to prevent or reverse the damage caused by premature cell death. So the next time you ponder about what happens when cells in our body die prematurely, remember the city analogy and the different types of necrosis. And that's a wrap on necrosis, a complex but fascinating aspect of cellular biology that continues to intrigue and challenge researchers worldwide.